All right, today we are diving deep into one of the most powerful ideas in all of political history, and it comes straight from Aristotle. We're going to break down his blueprint for the state and see how he built it step by step from the ground up.
And it really all kicks off with this one famous, maybe even a little confusing, quote, "Man is by nature a political animal." Now, you've probably heard that line thrown around before, right? But what does it actually mean? I can tell you it's a lot deeper than just saying, hey, we like to hang out in groups.
So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack what Aristotle was really getting at with that phrase. And maybe more importantly, why should we even care? Does this ancient idea have anything to say about our world right here, right now? All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this political animal idea, we first need to understand a core concept for Aristotle, and that concept is all about purpose.
That concept is called telos. It sounds fancy, but the idea is actually pretty simple. For Aristotle, everything, and I mean everything in nature, has a telos, a natural end, a goal, what it's for. Think about it like this, an acorn. What's an acorn's purpose? Its telos is to grow into a huge, mighty oak tree. That's its destiny, its fulfillment. And believe it or not, Aristotle looked at human society in the exact same way.
So he saw our communities as growing in these natural stages, kind of like building blocks. You start with the first block, the household. This is just the basic family unit, what you need for day-to-day survival. Then, a bunch of households naturally team up and you get a village. But that's not the end of the line. The final stage, the telos for all of us, is the polis, the city-state. And that's the real game changer, because it's only in the polis that we have the resources and the structure to go beyond just surviving and actually start pursuing the good life. Okay, so what separates us from, a pack of wolves or a beehive? They live in groups too, right? Well, Aristotle's big answer is a single word: logos. And this is way more than just communication. Sure, an animal can grunt to show it's in pain or happy, but logos is our unique human ability to use reason and speech to talk about big ideas, like what's fair, what's unfair, what's good for the community. It's the tool that lets us organize ourselves around a shared sense of justice. And this is where it all clicks into place. So when Aristotle says we are a political animal, he means that our nature, our very purpose, our telos, is only truly fulfilled when we live in a political community. It's the natural arena where we get to use our special skill, our logos, our reason, to build a just society and pursue that good life. So for him, the state isn't some artificial thing we invented. No, it's our natural habitat. It's where we're meant to be to truly thrive. But, and this is a big but, Aristotle's blueprint isn't perfect. Not by a long shot. In fact, there's a really serious, deeply troubling flaw in his thinking. And it's a powerful reminder that even the most brilliant minds can have major blind spots, shaped by the world they lived in. Yeah, we have to talk about this head on. In his work, Aristotle actually tries to justify something he calls natural slavery. Look, it's an awful passage, and it's an offensive idea, but we can't just ignore it. If we want to understand his philosophy honestly, we have to look at the whole picture, flaws and all.
So let's break this down, because what's fascinating is that Aristotle's own logic completely dismantles this terrible idea. His claim was that some people are just natural slaves, that they have enough reason to follow orders, but not enough to think for themselves. Well, this falls apart for two huge reasons. First, it's just factually wrong. There's no group of humans anywhere that actually fits that description. And second, and this is the killer point, it totally contradicts his own main idea. If the whole point of being human is to use our reason to flourish, how can you possibly justify a system that denies that variability to an entire group of people? You can't. It violates their telos.
You might be wondering, why even bring this up? Well, because looking at this mistake is incredibly important. It teaches us a huge lesson about how even the most logical thinking can get derailed by the prejudices of the day. But here's the other thing. It also shows the strength of his overall system. The very principles Aristotle gave us about purpose and reason are the best tools we have to see why he was so wrong on this point. A good philosophy can even correct itself.
Okay, so now that we've confronted that major blind spot, let's get back to the rest of the blueprint for a working state. And for Aristotle, the next building block is figuring out what it actually means to be a citizen.
Now, this is really interesting. For Aristotle, citizenship wasn't just a status. It wasn't about where you were born or what your passport said. Nope. For him, citizenship was an action. It was a verb. A citizen is someone who's actively involved in running the state, someone who serves on juries, who holds public office. It's about participation, not just being on the roster. And this idea of active citizenship leads right into his famous breakdown of the different types of government. He basically sorted them on a grid. You've got two questions.
How many people are in charge? One, a few, or many? And the crucial question, are they ruling for the good of everyone or just for themselves? The correct forms, like monarchy or aristocracy, are when the rulers aim for the common good. The deviant forms, like tyranny or oligarchy, are their selfish, corrupt shadows. And honestly, this simple chart is still an incredibly useful way to think about and analyze governments today.
All right, this brings us to the big finale, the most important question of all. We've talked about the building blocks, the citizens, the different kinds of government, but after all that, what's the point? What is a state actually for?
Well, Aristotle starts by being super clear about what it's not for. He says a state is not just a glorified security force to protect our stuff. It's not just a business deal, a free trade zone to make everyone richer, and it is absolutely not just a tool for one group to dominate another. It's something much, much more than that.
Here it is, the punchline. For Aristotle, the state exists for a moral reason. Its whole purpose is to promote justice and to help its citizens live the good life. The ultimate goal of politics isn't power or wealth, it's to create a community where human beings can flourish and become the best versions of themselves.
And when you stop and think about it, that's a pretty radical idea, especially compared to how we often think about the state today. A lot of modern political thought is based on the social contract, the idea that the state is this artificial thing we create out of self-interest, mostly for security. But Aristotle, he's saying the state is natural and its purpose is fundamentally moral. It's about making people good. That is a completely different starting point for thinking about politics, isn't it?
And that leaves us with one final, really provocative question to chew on. If Aristotle's right, if we really are political animals by nature, can any of us truly live a full, flourishing human life by ourselves, completely detached from the political community? Is it even possible to achieve the good life in private, or is being an active, engaged citizen a core part of what it means to be human? Something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with me.